We'll call the meeting to order and have a roll call by the secretary.
Mr. Fiddler.
Here.
Mr. Oberlin. Mr. Love. Mr. Burridge.
Here.
Mr. Huckabee.
Here.
Mr. Alexander.
Here.
Mr. Burgess.
Here.
Mr. Regan.
Here.
Chair calls that, or says we have a majority and we can conduct business. And the first item is 103, the approval of the minutes of the meeting of July the 5th. And we'll take both items A and B together, approval of the minutes of the Special Transportation Commission meeting of July the 10th, unless someone wants to separate those. If they don't, then we'll hear a motion for both those items, A and B.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Aye.
It works. We were wondering if this thing was going to work. Well, I don't think it works. Do we have anybody here that can tell us whether or not it's working? Okay, well, over there it says we got, what, 3 people that voted? Or, well, is it just too light for us to see? Yeah, I see it now. Is Brad, does he have a vote on there?
I'll vote yes.
Well, it looks like there's a majority that voted yes, but it's a little faint. Can you see over there how many you got?
Yeah, you
I can see the green dots, 5 on the yes.
yeses and 1 no vote.
One non-vote, okay. I just didn't look far enough over. So, item 103 has been approved. Item 104 through 106 is a consent docket. If any member of the commission wants to pull one of those items out, we will and discuss it separately. By unanimous consent, we'll do that. Otherwise, we'll hear a motion.
Motion approved.
Have a motion to approve the consent docket.
Second.
Have a second on items 104 through 106. Call the roll, or no, we're gonna vote with our machine. See if we, there you go. Motion passes. Mr. Tiegler will present item 107, engineering contracts, and 108.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Item 107, engineering contracts. I have one part this month. It's Cherokee County Commission District 1. We've selected Holloway, Updike, and Bellin to provide engineering and construction plans for State Highway 10. This total not to exceed amount is $796,684. This project is in the 8-year construction work plan and scheduled for 2023. Approval is recommended, and I'll answer any questions that you have.
You've heard the presentation. Any questions? What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve item 107.
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes. Item 108, Mr. Tiegler.
Item 108, I have 3 parts. Part A is a statewide all districts. This is our on-demand mobile LiDAR mapping with CEC Corporation. This is to increase this supplement with $150,000. Part B, statewide as well, all districts, our on-demand state bridge rehabilitation contract. We've previously selected CP&Y, Garver, Infrastructure Engineers, MacArthur Associated Consultants, Poe & Associates, and White Engineering Associates. Total aggregate increase for these contracts is $1 million. And finally, Part C, this is Rogers County, Commission District 8. We've previously authorized Garver to do final plans for I-44 interchange at 165th Avenue. Supplement not to exceed amount is $228,800. This project is in the 8-year construction work plan, scheduled let date in 2019. Approval is recommended, and I'll answer any questions that you have.
You've heard the presentation. Any questions?
Motion approved.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tiegler. We'll hear from Mr. Atkins on item 109, the lettings.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, item 109 consists of the final October, the tentative November 2017 bid openings, and the department recommends approval of item 109.
109 has been presented.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. Please vote unless you have some questions. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Atkins. Mr. Leonard will present items 110 and 111.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good morning. I'd like to present item number 110, parts A through double E. These are the change orders on projects with a cumulative total of change orders of $75,000 or less. It's presented for your information only, no action is necessary.
Are
I'd
there any
be glad to
questions
answer
from
any
the commission on item 110? Proceed with 111.
Okay. Item number 111, parts A through T. These represent change orders on projects with a cumulative total of change orders greater than $75,000, and your approval is recommended.
Mr. Leonard, any questions? Do we have a motion?
Motion approved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes. We are ready for the awards by Mr. Dales, item 112.
Commissioners,
Good
Mr. Chairman, item 112, Part A, is a project that we deferred from the June 15, 2017 regular bid opening. The following item referred to by Calder was deferred from that bid opening. It is now recommended that this item be awarded to the low bidder. I'd be happy to answer any question you have about that project.
Are there any questions? Okay, move to item B.
Thank you. Part B are our recommendations from the July 20th regular bid opening. It is recommended that the following items from the July 20th, 2017 regular bid opening referred to by call order be awarded. It's call orders 10, 40, 60, 70, 80, 110, 130, 140, 180, 190, 355, 360, 370, and 390. This concludes our recommendations for award, and your approval is requested.
For this agenda item, we have A and B. Any questions?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Thank you. The motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Dales. Mr. Patterson, we'll hear the director's report, item 113.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I've got 3 or 4 items I want to discuss with you. The first one we're going to start off with, and Steve Jacoby, our bridge engineer, is going to help me with this one because he's a lot smarter on this than I am. You know, for the past several years, we've been dealing with earthquakes and bridges and our infrastructure. And one of the things the commission allowed us to move forward with was a ShakeCast model so that we could get a better determination of when we needed to go out and inspect our bridges after an earthquake. As you recall, we have an established protocol that the term I use is roll on. Depending on the intensity of the earthquake, then we know how far out the epicenter that we're going to have to inspect bridges. It should be noted that just last week, there was a series of earthquakes on Wednesday and early Thursday morning with the epicenter near Edmond. That eventually there was one that was at 4.4, and so Division 4 had to roll out early in the morning and check bridges, make sure all the infrastructure was in place and in good standing. And it was, so there was no reported damage, so as we look to embrace the ShakeCast model, it may help us in some of these situations that we won't have to, what I call, spring into action so quickly, and give us a better read on what needs to be inspected and what priorities. That being said, Mr. Chairman, I'll come back up after Steve makes his presentation, and we'll discuss the other things. But if I could, have our Steve Jacoby come up.
Certainly.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'm here to present a little bit on where we've been with regards to our earthquake response protocol. I've got about a 7-8 slide PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to roll through. It'll give us basically a brief history on where we were and where we are now and where we're headed. First of all, this project's been developed since, I believe it was April of 2 years ago. You approved a contract to go into this with our consulting team. We've developed a response that's been nationally recognized. It's been presented at a few separate national conferences. Our project team consists of members of ODOT, both here in the central office, people in Bridge Division, senior staff, and a number of valuable members from our field divisions are people that have to deal with inspections every time there's an earthquake. We've had a very capable team led by Greg Hostetler of Infrastructure Engineers out of Edmond. They've incorporated people with the University of Oklahoma, Drs. Harvey and Muir Letheran, Kleinfelder and Associates, Karthik Radhakrishnan there, along with Dr. Zia Zafir. We've had participation with the Corps of Engineers through David Jarvis and Jeff Roberts there, and Dr. Jeremy Boak with the Oklahoma Geological Survey has been there to give us valuable insight. All in all, it's you heard me say doctor a lot of times. These are all people that are key to this project going forward, very, very capable people. So a couple of years ago, we established a protocol basically based on engineering judgment. This letter went out at the beginning of 2015. It specified earthquake inspections after mandatory after a 4.0 earthquake. What we were finding then was that it was overly conservative at the time. We were inspecting bridges sometimes every week. Our seismic activity at the time was pretty strong. From this, we developed an interim post-earthquake bridge inspection protocol. This was based on a procedure that incorporated shake maps from the U.S. Geological Survey. That gave us the seismic demand on our structures. Through shake maps, you could determine the ground accelerations at our bridge sites. With that, it was combined with these HAZUS fragility curves. HAZUS is a product of FEMA. It was developed for a wide range of natural hazards, earthquakes being one of them. We developed fragility curves for our bridges in the state based on existing bridge inventory data. Different types of bridges behave differently when they have seismic demand put on them. Multiple span bridges are more fragile than single span bridges. Bridges that are skewed are more susceptible. Bridges that are older are more susceptible. So what we wanted to ensure was that the demand, the seismic demand on our bridges, the shaking, did not exceed the capacity of our bridges to withstand that. With this in place, we came up with this interim post-earthquake bridge inspection protocol. It bumped our magnitudes up a little bit, and our inspection radius is down. So that saved us a substantial amount of resources on responding to earthquakes. The one thing I'd like to mention is the fragility curves. They've been validated through actual earthquakes in California, the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake, the 1994 San Fernando Valley earthquake. So we feel pretty confident in their ability to predict our seismic resistance, our seismic capacity. As part of this contract, we've developed a post-earthquake inspection manual. This has been shared with other states. I've shared it with Arkansas and Missouri. It's also been shared with county commissioners of Oklahoma to aid them in their response to their local bridges. We also shared it with municipal league members, and I think it's a very valuable product of this contract. We're also finalizing a post-earthquake response plan. A lot of that is how to mark bridges that have been been damaged, establishing detour routes. It has a list of products that we can do to help stabilize bridges, false work and shoring, in efforts to get bridges back open quickly. We've also done a lot of training with this contract. We've trained a lot of 262 field personnel, members of the Corps of Engineers, county, city, emergency management, members at OTA. And then a year ago, we did training for our 200 certified bridge inspectors. These are the inspectors that do our routine bridge inspections, our fracture critical bridge inspections. So I've got them all trained up to notice things post-earthquake, see what types of damage, there's examples of damage, and how to go about looking at these bridges. So this brings us to ShakeCast. ShakeCast is a product of the U.S. Geological Survey. It's used for a lot of different resources. What it does is after an earthquake, it evaluates your existing bridge inventory. It also looks at the shake map, which is generated by the USGS. It is an indication of the magnitude of shaking. It's a situational awareness software which allows you to immediately identify those bridges that need to be looked at. With our current protocol, after an event of a specified magnitude, we have to find out where the epicenter of the earthquake is, strike a radius around it, then identify the bridges that are within that radius, which is kind of cumbersome. This automatically delivers the list of bridges in a prioritized order to the end user. So this will go out to our field division engineers, our assistant division engineers in the field, and our bridge engineers in the field. So they can look at the list of bridges and get resources to look at the bridges that most need to be looked at most quickly, rather than kind of scattering around a predetermined radius. This also allows us to do what-if scenarios for emergency planning, where you can specify a certain magnitude earthquake at whatever location and then see what kind of damage you can expect. There are currently 3 states that use this. There's Utah, California, and Washington. Oregon's in the final stages of implementing this, and we hope to implement it this week. We are also participating in a pooled fund study. It's a research program with 9 other states. We're one of 10 states participating in this, and this is to increase the functionality of ShakeCast. Other states are looking at it for landslide potential, for liquefaction of soils. So we wanted a seat at the table to be able to help develop ShakeCast in the future. I've got 2 examples of our 2 largest earthquakes that we've seen. The first one was the one that really opened everyone's eyes in November 2011. Our original protocol for this was a 50-mile radius, and that generated inspections of 772 bridges. There are a lot of people out looking at a lot of bridges for a long time. The Prague earthquake incorporated, the radius incorporated a lot of Oklahoma County. There's a number of bridges in Oklahoma County. That's why that number is pretty large. With our interim protocol, which is more based on science, of 30 miles, that reduced to 189 bridges. With ShakeCast, this brought forth that 32 bridges needed inspection. Again, this was a prioritized list of those that most needed inspection first. So what this does is it allows our field people to allocate resources accordingly, get out and look at the bridges that need to be looked at. Lastly, our 5.8 magnitude earthquake last Labor Day weekend. You have a similar deal, 366 bridges under the original inspection protocol, 167 under the interim protocol, and 38 bridges that were identified through ShakeCast. This time I'd like to take any questions that you might have.
How soon do you get this from the Geological Survey after an earthquake?
So the USGS, after an earthquake, they've got a system called the ENS. It's an Earthquake Notification System. And any user can get in there and set up an account. where they receive earthquake information based on geographic location and/or magnitudes. It usually takes about 15 minutes after an event, and the ShakeCast report comes out almost at the same time. So, for example, after the earthquake last week in Edmond, you know, everyone felt it. It was right at news time. I think it happened at 9:56, and there about 10:08, 10 p.m. during the news, they had word that it was a 4.4 earthquake. So it takes, you know, about 10 to 15 minutes for both the ENS to come out and the ShakeCast report.
One other follow-up question. When we model this or when we look at this, and I'm sure the division engineers would, but do we look at our condition, our thought of condition of how the bridges are before do we prioritize, do we go out based on how new or?
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I'd like to bring up with this is, you know, one of the things that goes into the fragility models is the age of the bridge, the condition of the bridge, with our emphasis on replacing our structurally deficient bridges over the past 14 years or so. The inventory that we currently have is far more robust than it was, you know, say 10 years ago. So that would generate a ShakeCast report that has fewer and fewer bridges because the quality of our bridges, the status of them is far better than it was, say, 10 years ago. But it'll still, you know, give a prioritized report of bridges to be looked at.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
I have a question. In the shake-up report, are these the only bridges that'll be looked at, or are they just the top priority bridges?
It is our intention that they'd be the only bridges looked at. We've had a number of seismic events to date. We've had 2 instances of very minor cosmetic damage on our bridges. What this will do is it gives us a system that's based on science, based on ground motion, and based on the condition of our bridges that will give us, you know, the best information available.
Would that have picked up those cosmetic damages you're talking about? Were they big enough for it to pick up?
You know, I'd have to run a scenario with that particular earthquake, and we've run it before and see if it came up on the list. I believe that I don't know if I can go back here. Yeah, maybe not. The list, yeah, from the ShakeCast report. There we go. So I think one of the ones listed here is 177 at the Cimarron Turnpike, and I believe that was the one that it's the one that's listed 5th, I believe. I believe that's the one that had some of the cosmetic damage. There was some spalling of concrete on that. The other report that we had was there was a roller bearing that needed reset, and that may or may not have been a result of that earthquake. But the 177 at the Cimarron Turnpike, I believe, was the bridge that had the cosmetic damage.
Further questions?
Is the cosmetic damage from last week or just in the last couple of years aggregate total?
That was just from every event that we had. That was from the Pawnee earthquake, the 5.8 Pawnee earthquake, which was the strongest, you know, that we've had.
So the bridges are holding up.
Bridges are holding up. We started detailing our bridges, I guess, in a more robust manner than other states since I've started here 31 years ago. We've got large shelf distances on the top of our pier caps. When I drive to other states and I look at their bridges, they look flimsy to me. Ours are, I think we've been overly conservative in our approach on detailing our bridges, and it's borne good fruit with regards to how seismically you know, sustainable they are.
Chairman, if I may, this fragility curve, Hansa, is that how you pronounce it?
Hazas.
What factors do these smart people look at? I'm guessing it has to do with the size of the quake, how long the ground shakes, where it's located, what kind of soil. I mean, can you just kind of, I don't want a dissertation, but just kind of the factors that you would look at.
So the hazardous side of the equation is how our bridges stand up to these seismic movements. A few of the factors that go into this is the length of the bridge, the number of spans, the length of the maximum length of span, whether the bridge is skewed or not, the age of the bridge, and whether it's structurally deficient or not. So these factors go into this kind of aggregate look at our bridges and how they resist seismic loads.
And so ODOT's position is basically that this FASA system of fragility that is being used by California and Oregon and some of these other states, or Utah, I'm sorry, that presents a better protocol than what we're currently doing, and it's much more cost-effective and without jeopardizing safety.
Exactly. So the hazardous models have been validated through the years with each subsequent earthquake, whether it's the Loma Prieta earthquake or the San Fernando, which I noted. Also, there's a Napa, California 6.0, I think 2 years ago. And so all the time it's refined. But we feel that the data that we have from those earthquakes in California, along with the fact that we really haven't found anything in all the earthquakes we've had in Oklahoma, to this point in time, that we feel it's a good approach going forward.
Thank you.
And I've got 2 members of our team, Dr. Mira Letheran and Greg Hostetler, with me. In case I get too far off script, they can come up and throw stuff at me.
They've been eyeballing you pretty close. Any further questions? We appreciate that report, and I think the big thing to note is that our bridges are holding up in a spectacular manner, not ordinary. I was looking back there to see if the doctors did this. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You want to introduce our guest, Mr. Director, since I failed to do so?
I'm sorry. Steve Jacoby, State Bridge Engineer. Oh, I'm sorry. Dr. Mira Letheran and of University of Oklahoma, and Greg Hostetler with Infrastructure Engineers.
We really appreciate you guys coming today, and also the role that you've played. It's a big deal, very important for our state, and we know who you are.
Okay, thank you. I thought you wanted me to introduce this guy. I've never seen him before.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Director.
Thank you, Commissioners. Appreciate your taking note of the progress we're making, because we understand this is a real safety concern for our citizens to know that their infrastructure is holding up in these earthquakes. And for you allowing us to get even deeper into this program so that we can provide that safety element to the public. With some of the questions, and Commissioner Alexander, brought up the bridges, number of bridges, and what we've done, and we've talked about this in the past. What would our system have looked like if we had not made the strides that we had in our structurally deficient bridges with some of these earthquakes? And what would have happened? Would those inspections turned out differently? I would imagine they probably would have. There was a report came out late last week from ARTBA that I went back 10 years, and 10 years is the anniversary of the bridge collapse on I-35 in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. So that they took that 10-year period, and Oklahoma leads the country in rehabilitation and reconstruction of our bridge system with 2,458. But our story really began about 5 years before that. If you'll recall, we had the bridge knocked down over the Arkansas River on I-40. And when we put people on those detour routes, we knew exactly then how bad our bridge system was. And so that's when Director Ridley put us on that path to do something about our bridges, because we led the country, except for Pennsylvania, in structurally deficient bridges. And so we got started, and then the public became very aware after the bridge collapse in Minnesota, again, 10 years ago. So it's that anniversary that ARTPA's looking at how many bridges have been reconstructed, rehabbed, and fortunately, and thanks to you as a commission, and thanks to the legislature and the governors for being able to provide us with additional funding and the work ethic of this agency to attack that problem. So congratulations all around for the success we've had in our bridge program.
So you're saying good system planning funded properly works,
You mean work the plan,
work the plan.
have the plan, work the plan? That's exactly right. Speaking of the plan, thank you to each one of you who we've got you on, we've got you scheduled to sit down and talk about our 8-year plan. We'll do that in September. Bring the plan back to you for your final approval in October at the October Commission meeting. We continue to have meetings with the division engineers. I know they're meeting with their staff. We have a meeting this afternoon. As a matter of fact, with all the division engineers, just to check in, make sure we're all moving and answer any questions they might have, moving toward getting to that place. I can tell you that this may be one of the, if not the most frustrating 8-year plan that we will experience, because we've never taken a project out of the 8-year plan, but I fear that that's going to happen this time. As hard as we work to keep all the projects in the plan, we may have to take some out. And it's a product of money and escalating cost and other factors that play into environmental issues, having to move projects around and make them fit. And then does the money fit? And so just know that we're working as hard as we can to keep all the projects in there, but don't be surprised if we come to you with a project or two coming out. The last thing I want to talk about, just a short note. Kudos to Division 8 and their response in the tornado the other evening. The folks in Tulsa, DOT rolled out, got the roadways cleared so that emergency vehicles could get in and people could get out. And it's just what ODOT does in the middle of the night when others are resting and getting ready for their day. We're hard after it. So kudos to Division 8. Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
What kind of questions do you guys have? Well, I think we ought to say it again, being able to plan, get those bridges on a schedule, get them fixed. We will never know how much money we saved or how many people we kept out of peril because we got ahead of the problem because of correct funding, correct planning, which you guys are excellent at. And our 8-year plan is the hero in all of it.
That's exactly right.
And thank you, gentlemen, for your help. If there's nothing else, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Director,
You're good.
I don't know what to call you anymore. We'll hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Look at there, now,
It's working.
now it works. Or at least we can see it. Y'all could probably see it. We're adjourned.